Welcome to the Plenty of Ammo podcast, bringing you interviews with celebrities, sports stars, and many, many more. The Plenty of Ammo podcast, having real conversations about real life events. Sit back, relax, and enjoy some real conversation from a scouter that doesn't hold his tongue. The Plenty of Ammo podcast, with your host, Sean Ammo.
Okay everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Plenty of Ammo podcast. I've had plenty of guests in the last couple of months. You know all about them, from pop stars to sports stars and even comedians. This guest that I've got sat here next to me today is, I'm going to say it, I don't know if he's going to like me saying this, I'm going to say it, he's one of the most high profile guests that I've got, and I'm really privileged and honoured to have him next to me. It's the one and only Sam Millar, successful author of On the Ring. So first of all, how are you? How are you going?
Pretty good, Sean. Thank you for having me on your show here and for coming all the way down from Sabang and from coming all the way from Liverpool.
Yeah. So no, thank you for coming here. Obviously, people that know me know I'm a scouser. I live here in the island of Ireland. I've been here for 10 years. And what I have to say, and I say to people every day, you're all mad. And I mean that in the most polite way possible. But as I say, it's been one of my long kind of desires to get someone like yourself from your background, get an interview, and there's no better way to do it than on the Plenty of Ammo podcast today. So Sam, if you've done this before, you're an expert at it, and probably more so than me at the moment. But let me just ask you, so you were born in Belfast, right? Everyone's seen the film recently, Belfast. Have you watched it?
Let me tell you, I was asked to review it.
Okay.
And I didn't really want to review it because I sort of had a prejudice towards it, knowing that the director, I forget his name right now, his background, unionist background, so I wasn't expecting much of that. To be honest, I was very disappointed with it. It wasn't the Belfast that I live in. It was like Coronation Street meets Disney World.
Right. Okay.
It was like consumption for people that don't really know what's going on in Belfast, so I was quite disappointed by it, you know.
Well, fair enough. But my point in saying that is that people have watched it who are maybe not from Ireland, Northern Ireland, however you see it, and that gives them a little bit of an idea of how things were, as you said, a Disney World fakeness, as they say. But here I am, I'm here with you. You've got a massive history within these streets of Belfast. So, you were born, in 1968?
No, 1955.
1955, my mistake.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I made you 10 years younger.
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
don't love that part.
But tell me this. So, as a teen growing up in Belfast in them times, what was it like, you know?
It was quite tough, you know, and we didn't really have a lot at the time. Of course, you look back now and you realise you were living in poverty. At the time, I thought it was great. You didn't really look upon yourself as being poor. You had so much great friends and your families all looked after each other. But looking back now, it was abject poverty we were surviving in. And being a Catholic, that made it even worse, coming from the north of Ireland, which is quite a sectarian state created by the British 100 years ago, handed over to the Unionists, and they had all these privileges. And now the strange thing about my life is my grandfather, was a leading Orange man.
Okay.
People may not know what the Orange Order is.
Yeah.
It's an extreme right-wing hatred of Catholics, a bit like the Ku Klux Klan in America, with their hatred towards black people. So my grandfather had his own, I won't say he hated Catholics, but he was brought up in that there. His whole family was Unionists and Orange men. Then one day he was down in an Orange Lodge down in Donegal.
Okay. My neck of the woods.
Pardon?
My neck of the woods, Donegal, yeah.
Lovely place. But down there he met this young girl and he fell in love with her. Unfortunately for him, she was from Cork and she was a Catholic. But all of a sudden, all the prejudice that he had been brought up in as a young boy and becoming an Orange man went out the window because he was madly in love with her. So she didn't really care about his background. The only thing she said to him, if we do get married, it's a big if, all the children are going to be brought up Catholic. If you have a problem with that, there's no point in going ahead with this.
Right.
So he was madly in love, you know, and fair play, told him he went ahead with it, and his family immediately disowned him. And the Orange Order kicked him out.
Wow.
And they started spreading rumours all about him, you know, going with this Teague. It's a derogatory term for Catholics.
Would have this been maybe the 20s, 30s?
Yeah, it would have been around about the 30s,
okay.
You know. And here was a young guy now brought up in the Orange Order, believing in the British Empire, and all of a sudden he was disillusioned and his family just owned him a street that he lived in. All he had to get out of the street and go live with my grandmother's folk, you know, at the time. So it was a pretty hard time for him, you know what I mean? But there was the start of my life. In my home, you could have went in and there would have been a sash from the Orange Order, respecting my grandfather's belief, but you'd also had a portrait of the Pope in John Kennedy, which was mostly in Catholic national series, but that's the kind of background I was brought up in, half orange and half green.
So when, I'm laughing at you hearing me say that, but I get where you're coming from. There's actually probably a lot of people watching this, and probably a lot of people that have got those kind of, like my granny from Cork.
Very
I'm a Scouser.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, but there you go, everyone's got those roots. So you're a teenager, you're growing up in Belfast, you've got that kind of, I say, mixed kind of roots. At what stage did you start to, and we all be teenagers, we all kind of be out in the streets and doing stuff, and I'm sure it wasn't no different in then. At what stage did you really start to see the hatred between the two kind of sides as such?
Yeah, well, as a young boy, like 8, 9 years of age, I used to go to Taggers Bay in Belfast. Taggers Bay, the people who wouldn't know, it's a staunch loyalist unionist area in Belfast, very, very staunch. But because half my family were Protestants unionists, I went there quite easy and was taken care of. There was no prejudice shown to me, even though I was a young Catholic.
Yeah.
And I never saw any prejudice really until maybe I was about 13 or 14. You could start to feel it when my uncles were saying, "Son, it's better you don't come over here now." It was starting, the kick-off was starting.
Right.
We're getting into a stage where civil war was about to come.
It's just kind of like just, you know, weekends, or would this kind of overflowed into like school and stuff like that, or was it just kind of activities outside of school? How would have it? So you're 13, you're in school.
Yes.
Would have they just said like, don't come around the weekend for this because?
Yeah, well, when I'd try and go over once, twice a day sometimes, you know, because to be honest with you, I got fed better.
Fair enough.
You know, my uncles on the orange side had more money.
More money, yeah.
Poor Catholic, you know, I was here always scrounging for a bit of grub, so I always got fed better there, you know. So
but you're laughing saying that, but that's a good point you make. So that was probably one of the injustices that started everything.
Yeah, cool,
the Protestants had the money,
yes, exactly.
The Catholics didn't,
yes,
and it was kind of, from what you're saying to me, I'm getting it was just accepted.
It was accepted for 100 years.
Yeah.
And we sort of always thought, well, this is the way it is. Like a black person in America, well, this is what we are. We're supposed to be out in the fields digging plants and doing this sugar coat and crap, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why you didn't really know anything better. I didn't know anything better, but my brothers were quite pluggedly aware.
Okay. They're a bit older.
Oh yeah, they were a lot older than me, you know.
Okay.
And they'd been going to grammar schools and university and all, so they were always trying to explain to me a situation where I was living, because I was just interested in girls, disco. I'm a big love of American comic books. That's my biggest love of all.
This is 60s then, this is mid-60s?
Yes, this is coming up. The Civil War really started here around about 69, 70. That's when it was really starting to come. You could see it, you know, people were starting to get a bit nervous. We didn't really realise it within about a year we'd be at each other's throat, you know.
Yeah.
But I was sort of like ignorant to it. I didn't really want to have any bother, as I say. I was going to girls, going to disco, anything, you know.
Yeah.
But they were trying to say, look, you're a second-class citizen here in your own country. Look at the state of our house where we're living in. You go to Millar, Aunt Johnny's and all this here, whatever.
Is that everywhere you go, or is that just in certain places?
I can't speak for everywhere. I can only speak for what my own, you know. I'm not going to turn around and spread propaganda here that's going on about. I'm going to tell you my own experience, you know, where I went over there. You can see a difference. They had the good jobs and all, you know, they had a guaranteed job in the shipyard and all the best of jobs, you know, guaranteed them, you know. I mean, my family was always struggling, especially my father. He was always struggling. He was working crap jobs, maybe 2 jobs, just trying to keep a family going, you know, because my mother walked out the door one day when I was 8 years of age, and she never came back.
Yeah.
So my father, who was a seaman, like that's how I got started in American comic books, because he'd bring me over American comic books.
Right, and that kind of started the love affair.
Yeah, I mean, I've never lost that love affair, but I was one of the few people maybe in the whole of Ireland had American comic books at this time, because most of the time you only had these crappy British propaganda comics, you know, Commando and Hotspur and all this here. So that's how you were brought up. You didn't realise there was a different world out there, you know. So
let me ask you a question before you kind of divulge a bit more. Would you say, and I know you don't want to speak for other people, but in that time period in Belfast in the 60s, as a Catholic, would you say you were a typical Catholic teenager?
I would say I was typical Catholic, except for my background of having orange in my blood, you know. Yeah. But as I said, I think we all got along all together. There was really no prejudice towards young. I mean, teenagers never really seen that sort of nonsense, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't until, like, as I say, near 70, 69, 70, you know, all of a sudden here it was getting out of hand, and you could see what was coming around the corner. Then everybody had to take sides, whether we liked it or not.
And what age are you then? What age are you at the stage?
I was around coming up to about 15.
So everyone knows, anyone watching this and listening to this, and us both sitting here, people know that at that age, when you're 15, 16, you're finding yourself, it's a massive years as a person growing up. And going through all this, it was bound to influence you, wasn't it?
It was alright, because, as I say, in my school, Barnagiga, St Patrick's here down the road, I knew when I reached 15, I had no chance of a secondary education. There was no chance of me going to college or anything, because I had to leave and get a job because my family were living in such dire straits, and that's the way it was for most Catholics. There was none of this, you're continuing your education, you had to get out. So I got out when I was 15 and got a really terrible job in the slaughterhouse. It's a really terrible place, you know, because 90% of it was loyalists employed.
Really? Okay.
And you are 10% Catholics, and it was quite a terrible place.
And at 15, even at that age, would they treat you differently? Would they?
Oh yeah, no. Well, the good thing about my name, Sam Millar, if you ask anybody, Sam Millar, that's an orange man.
Right,
that's
okay.
a fraud. You know?
I wouldn't have put the...
And that's why I could get away with a lot of things, and I found a lot of confidence in this, you know what I mean? Because I could go in there and hear it, because I knew Sam Millar, that's an orange man, you know what I mean?
Right, okay.
Yeah,
it's not like Doherty or...
Yeah, no.
O'Shea
You
or...
couldn't go to Tigers Bay and call yourself Doherty or anything,
right,
you know what I mean?
okay.
No way. But when you're travelling with the name Sam Millar, everybody goes, oh, that's a good orange name, you know what I mean? So I could get away with a lot of things, you know what I mean?
Okay, so unless they knew, they didn't know?
No, they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But once it used to be they asked you what school you went to when you went for a job. This is how they discriminate against Catholics.
Right, okay.
So they'd say, well, what school? And every Catholic went to St somebody. St Teresa's, St Patrick's, St John, whatever.
Yes.
And that was you off. You weren't getting that job, even though you had a better education than the Protestant next to you. You was getting the job no matter what. So then they had to change that, because even the laws here, it says no, it's a wee bit discriminatory, you know what I mean? So they'd ask you your name, because instead of being Seamus and Patrick and Sean and all this, oh, Sammy Millar.
Yeah.
Big wink, you know, yes, you can. You know,
fair enough. So you're in the slaughterhouse, you're 15, you're putting food on the table for your family, I'm imagining?
But the funny thing is, like, I mean, I hate it, because you're killing animals and all, you know, I'm a vegetarian now.
Okay.
And you always have this terrible feeling about these poor animals being slaughtered and all, you know?
Yeah.
But the terrible thing about the slaughterhouse, inside there was these notorious gang that would come later, called the Shankill Road Butchers.
Okay.
And they, later on, they would kidnap Catholics and cut their throats. And they sent terror throughout the
that
community.
Gang kind of formed within the slaughterhouse?
Yes, they learned their trade of cutting people's throats from ear to ear, and other parts on it described.
Right,
it's quite graphic.
Yes.
You know, I won't really go into it.
No, I understand what it's about.
If anybody
have to mention it
about,
as well,
if anybody wants to know about the Shankill Butchers, I'm sure they'll be horrified if they go and read a book about it or Google it or whatever. So I was always, and at this time, a friend of mine in school, my best schoolmate Jim Kerr, he was starting working in a garage on Lisburn Road.
Okay.
So I was quite envious.
Yeah.
I'm working in this bloody slaughterhouse, you know, this stench, killing animals and all. He said, listen, son, give me a few weeks. I get in there, tell the boss, and you'll be up there with me. And I thought, you know, great, you know, operating motor cars, how to fix a motor and all that. This was my dream, you know. 3 weeks later, he was down at my house talking about my dad and all, we're outside playing a bit of football. 2 days later, he shot dead on the Lisburn Road. Six bullets to the head for being a Catholic. And he was the first Catholic.
And he's 16, 15, 16?
Just turned up after 15, coming up to 16, you know. So that sort of like shocked me into what the hell is this here? It could have been me. Pulled him out from underneath the car he was up fixing, you know. Just pulled him out, shot him 6 times in the face, and then just threw him back like he was rubbish back onto the car, you know, up in the garage in Lisburn Road. And it sort of like shocked me. It was the first time in my life all of a sudden reality was coming to me. But even that, I was trying not to believe that this is a world I was living in. It was a wee bit scary, it sounds like a nightmare. I was trying to believe it, but then all of a sudden my brother brought me to a place called Derry on a Sunday. And I didn't know where Derry was. I'd be honest, I had no clue where Ireland was. I only knew Belfast, you know. So he says, I'm taking you here to Derry. There was a civil rights march.
Okay.
So I didn't care about the civil rights march. I just wanted to get in the car, get out of Belfast. It was sunny. Sunny morning. Unfortunately for me, it was bloody Sunday. 14 people murdered by British paratroopers.
And were you
that was me finished.
Wow. And you're what, 16?
I was turned 16.
So you've just went through the ordeal of your best friend.
Murdered,
shot dead, point blank range, as bad as it can go. You've gone to that, and then for people that, I know about Bloody Sunday a little bit, but for people that don't know, maybe watching this, educate us a little bit. So what happened?
Bloody Sunday was Catholics and Nationalists trying to march for civil rights, just like black people were marching in America at this time. So you had Nationalists and Catholics fed up with being second-class citizens, treated like dirt, treated like dogs in their own country, you know. So they're marching, you know, and doing big marches. You know, and this one was a big one in Derry. and all it was for equality. There was nothing radical about it.
Yeah.
Not overtake a country or anything, just to get treated the same as you and I.
Yes.
You know, that's why I was always brought up to treat everybody with respect.
Yeah.
But here we were having to march for this equality just because we're Catholics. Not because, I'm a Catholic, but I never went to Mass.
Yeah.
You know, that's a funny thing about most Catholics in the North don't go to Mass.
Yes, of course.
So to have this thing where we're all great Catholics, we all go to Mass, and it's a lot of nonsense.
Well, at the end of the day, it's about equality. You wasn't going to take it equal.
It's nothing to do with religion. Nothing. I've never been religious in my life, you know. But I know never been religious. You know what I mean? It's all about equality. Nobody wants to be treated like a dirt, especially having your own kids with you and seeing them kids being treated like dirt in front of you. You know what I mean? It's no way, you know. So that's really what this march is about. But my brother was telling me about it, but I didn't listen to the word. All I wanted to do was get out of Belfast, get in his car. A trip in a car out of Belfast in them days was like going to Disneyland. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was massive, like, you know. As I say, we were stuck there coming up into the bogside, and all of a sudden we could hear all the shots, the smell of CS gas. And it was frightening because the police at the time, the RUC was a loyalist group, like it's just a militia from them, you know. They were stopping you, pulling you in a car, arresting you, slipping you in the back of the head and all, asking you where you're going, all this sort of like, kind of prevent you going into there, joining numbers. But afterwards, my brother finally made his way out of there because he was a bit terrified of all the shots and all, you know. And we got home, I'll never forget it because it was probably one of the only few times I've ever seen my father crying. He was crying his eyes out. That's a big man, big hard man, big Simon, you know. And we were shocked. What's wrong? I said, there's 13 people being murdered in there, and I thought you were among them. You know, we didn't know him at that time. We were travelling home just thinking, we never got in, so back home. But there was the news, 13 people murdered by British paratroopers marching for civil rights, you know.
And these are just normal, everyday fellas.
Every ordinary people who were just walking across the street, weren't even part of the march or anything, people just going to shopping on, you know.
And this is what, early 70s is it?
Sort of 71.
71, there you go. So we're at that stage, I don't want to kind of jump over it, but I feel like we have to kind of go to the next stage.
Problem.
But so your best mate's been murdered. You've got up to fight for equality, march for equality effectively. 13 people were murdered. You've watched your dad in tears that I'm assuming wouldn't have been a normal thing for him because he thought that he might have been involved with your brothers. I'm thinking anyone at that age, there must be a lot going on up here. Yeah. So you're in that situation. Where did you end? How did it lead to where you are now?
I now started having this siege mentality that the loyalists are coming, now the British Army are coming to get us.
Yes. And
at that time there was only one saviour, and that was the Irish Republican Army.
Yeah.
There was only a handful of them, but they seemed to be the ones defending Catholic areas and Arthur's areas, you know. And I remember a friend of mine who came to me, and he was already connected with the IRA, I wasn't. And he said, like, son, we're all going to be slaughtered. Your family's going to be slaughtered. You won't do anything about it. And I was shitting myself. Like,
can I ask an honest question here now? This is from someone that's a little bit ignorant, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. So, did you, at that age, firmly believe that you were literally could just be shot at any given stage, or do you think it was a little bit fed into you a little bit, or was it everything?
I absolutely thought they were coming.
Yeah, okay.
I thought it was the end of the world.
Okay.
You know, because the loyalists had already been burning out entire streets of Catholics, and what they were doing was, when they were moving out of houses, loyalists, and moving into their own other areas, because Catholics were moving into these empty houses, what they were doing was leaving big bags, plastic bags full of petrol, and putting it up the chimney. When the Catholics came into a house, whenever the winter came, it'd be sitting there until a fire was lit. And once a fire was lit, melt the bag, and the petrol would just come down over you. And it happened, a few times until people started, don't be lighting your fire.
So you definitely thought you were.
Oh yeah, I thought it was the end of the world.
And so what, your late teens here, and how did kind of everything start? So the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, kind of got in contact through a brother, you were saying?
Through a friend.
Through a friend, and how did it all kind of materialise?
Well, they take you in and want to see what you want to join them for. They're not just going to take you in because you want to say, well, I want to kill somebody. I never had that sort of feeling. I was more afraid. I thought, well, if I was in the area, at least I'd have somebody to defend me, or I'd have a gun. Oh, imagination, because I'm not going to hand you a gun. There's a few guns about at that time. They weren't certainly going to hand me a gun. But they send you a different thing, educations, to find out what do you understand how you would fight for. You know, you just can't turn around and say, because the Orange Man's coming under my street, that's very sectarian. The IRA wouldn't have that, they wouldn't tolerate that, you know. So after a while, you finally get to go down to camps and train a little bit. You know, and things like this here. And that's really where my life started.
So, it sounds kind of weird saying this, but this is the picture I'm getting. It was just a kind of, I don't want to say college, but you're at that age and you were in it and it was treated very seriously. This isn't just kind of all the punks with guns, as you say. This is a serious educational, you earn your stripes as such. Am I right in what I'm saying?
Yes, you're with some serious people. You've been with people who've been fighting for Irish freedom since the 40s, 50s, 60s, and all of a sudden you're in the room with these guys. Yeah. You know, and they might be looking at you and weighing you up to find out, is this worth bringing this guy in here? Because you could be an informer, you could be anybody, you could be a danger to the other ARA men, you know. So this is the thing you're sort of going through, and I thought, is it worth it? I mean, they're giving me all these courses, and I thought you should welcome me in with open arms.
You're earning your stripes through kind of being there, doing stuff. So what was like, so before the real troubles hit, what was like an everyday day like in the IRA?
Horrible, because I kept thinking about my mates in the disco. I didn't really want to be on this. He's sitting here in these forest areas for days on end, you know what I mean? You know, no grub, nothing, waiting, you know what I mean, all this sort of thing. And all I kept saying, I'm going back to Belfast, be with my mates again, back at the discos, you know, with my girls. But of course, in their heart was telling me, this is gone, you know.
Let me ask, at that stage, going for that, was there many women about? Was, you know, did women kind of like the fact that you were maybe, was it a secret?
Well, it was a secret.
So you didn't tell people?
No, you would never tell anybody, but once the Civil War started, you started to produce yourself on the streets.
Let's go to Civil War. So what year is this?
Practically 71.
71, okay, so 1971, and the Civil War is starting as such, and that's over the whole of Ireland, isn't it?
Whole of North.
Whole of North, yeah. And how did it kind of all go from that to obviously bombs and the Omagh bombs is a famous one, stuff?
Well, the Omagh bombings is because Republicans were involved. Yeah. But you don't hear about McGurk's Bar, where Catholics were murdered by British terrorists.
Educate me now, educate me.
Okay, hold on a second. But what had happened was the UVF were starting to blow up bars belonging to Catholics.
Okay.
There was a young Catholic, 1966, this was 8 years even before the Civil War started. A lad called Ward was murdered in the Shackle Road. He was in a bar and he was murdered simply because he was a Catholic. So there's no IRA at that time. Yeah. They'd always come out with, oh, the IRA was here and there. That's a lot of nonsense.
And this is the UVF that was involved?
UVF, they did it all. They were blowing up pipelines and pubs. They were always active.
This is like the Protestant equivalent of the IRA, is that right?
Exactly. Also,
and they were just murdering people for the sake of it?
They were just terrifying the Catholic community, even though there was no IRA at this time. There was no war going on. They were always there letting you know where your place is. You know, right, okay. And you just keep within your place, and if we find out different, this is what's going to happen. They were always there, you know.
Okay.
So where I came from, there was many bars blew up. I don't know how many was blew up in my own area in New Lodge Road in Belfast, at least 20.
Okay.
New Lodge Road was hit very bad because we live in North Belfast.
Yeah.
And North Belfast has taken the blunt of the sectarian part of the war. The Protestant Catholics, well, that's what the media would say. But it's loyalists against Republicans. Yes. You know, basically that's what it is, you know. But one of the infamous bars is a place called McGurk's Bar, not too far where I live around the corner on Lancaster Street, and that was blew up. It was like 14, 15 people all killed and murdered. And then the next day the British media, the only media all this started to say these were all IRA men making bombs.
Right. So they were blaming.
British media started spreading out. Now later they apologised, the British government had to apologise that these people were all blown up by the UVF.
Yes.
But it didn't suit their agenda at that time.
Of course.
And for years these poor people blew up and then their families had to listen to, they were all in the IRA, you know?
Right, so let me get this right. So this is the picture that you paint for me, Sam, and say my limited kind of knowledge. So it went through, it wasn't equal, you didn't have equal rights. So that was one stage, you kind of being in Belfast, being in the north. You didn't have equal rights, but it went from that to just killing innocent people to prove that the UVF or the British were in charge, and that's basically why it all kind of erupted.
It is.
Because it went up. There's one thing, maybe not getting the same pay or not getting a job, it's another thing made an innocent man that's got kids and...
Big time. And at this time the IRA, and there wasn't a lot of them at that time, there were probably 200 IRA men in the north.
Wow.
It wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And they got under pressure.
Yes.
And people were actually booing them in the street, calling them cards.
Because they weren't doing nothing.
Because they weren't doing anything.
Right, yes.
So you come in, if you do something,
I see what you're saying, yeah.
You're a scumbag, but if you don't do anything, you're a card. So all of a sudden, people were, you know, they didn't have a lot of guns, they had shotguns, stupid, really, Dad's Army sort of stuff, you know? And people who were hiding us were lifting it and saying, throwing it out in the street and telling them never come near his house again, you're letting these houses be built or be bombed, and the UPF's killing people, what are you doing? They're doing nothing. you know.
Yeah.
So there I was coming under an awful lot of pressure
Yes.
at this time.
From just normal everyday Republicans, basically.
People were coming to them, like
Yeah.
saying, our streets are burning, Catholics are being shot here and you aren't doing a thing about it. So they came under an awful lot of pressure.
Which I think is understandable.
Yeah, they had to retaliate, start fighting.
Okay. So bring us maybe to the mid-70s, and how did it... When did the first retaliation kind of happen? Or,
Probably in 71. I can't remember exactly, you know.
Yeah.
But in 1971, I was arrested by the British Army.
Okay.
And, you know, the typical way, they came in and racked my house, were looking for my father and brothers, and they couldn't find them. So they found me.
Yeah.
And I was the first Catholic done under something that's called the Diplomat Court. It's a
Okay.
non-jury, British ruled court, it's like a multi-court.
Okay.
And I was the first Catholic, first Nationalist done under this. It was actually made the headlines in the Daily Mirror.
Right,
overnight,
okay,
you
there you
know.
go.
And most people, because they said I was an IRA, they couldn't prove it. But most people who were in the IRA and UVF at that time were getting fined £30 for being in an illegal organisation. So
Right.
my lawyer, our solicitor, came to me and says, you're probably going to get fined £30. I was terrified because I was thinking, where am I going to get £30?
Yes.
My father has the 30D, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah,
where am I going to
yeah,
get this?
yeah,
I was
yeah.
more concerned about this. The judge looked at me and he started lecturing me and all that sort of crap. British judge, no jury. He says, you're a dedicated terrorist to me. I mean, I've never done a thing in life.
Yeah.
He says this here and he said, if I had no way, I'd give you 8 years in jail. And I like, what? He said, but I'm going to take pity on your age and I'm only going to give you 3 years.
And
So all of a
what age are you
sudden-
now? You're
16, just
Wow.
turned 16.
So you...
So all of a sudden I was in prison. Never knew what a prison was. Never thought I would ever one day be in a prison. I was always seeing these terrible horror movies about these army camps and all that, you know. All of a sudden I'm in Long Cash, 16 years of age.
Tell me about that. That must have been horrific.
Long Cash, yes, it was quite a rough place, you know what I mean? It was,
At 16 though?
well, 16 your life's gone.
Yeah.
You're paining inside, your heart's broken because you're going regardless time. Your mates are all out every Saturday night going away to the discos and you can't get this out of your head. You're stuck in this camp, this place, Long Cash, notorious place, and your heart's full away paining for the days of being out with your mates and on your neck. You're stuck now in this freaking place, you know. And like, the conditions in it were so bad, we ended up burning it to the ground. It was a massive place, like in Lisburn, you know. So we burned it because of conditions, you know.
And what was a typical day in there? What was...
Typical day was getting up, making your beds. It was like a multi-regime. Because I was in charge, there was no screws allowed in, no prison guards allowed in.
Yeah.
It was like cages,
Yeah.
just like a Second World War, you see.
Yes, yes.
POWs being held. So you had to do your training, then you had to go to your lectures. So it wasn't very funny, it wasn't a nice place for me, because I was always daydreaming. You know,
Yes,
as I say, I was in the American comic books and all, I wasn't really into this jumping over beds and all this sort of thing, to keep myself fit, and not really into keeping fit, you know. But that was the start of me really hardening up as an IRA man.
Okay.
Or a Republican, really.
So you spent 3 years, did you stay the full 3 years?
No, I spent about 2 years, 10 months, something like that, almost 3 years.
So you get out, you've had this, is it fair to say 2.5, 3 years of forming more hatred? So I don't want to say hatred, more anger, or...
Well,
what's the right word here? You don't get
I
that.
know what you're getting, I know it, but
It's a grind on you.
I was more
But
determined, I was more determined now to free my country from Britain.
There we go, that's a good
Where
word.
before it was sort of like complacent, like, well...
It's
maybe,
good to be, yeah.
You know, maybe if we had equal rights, but now for me it wasn't about equal rights.
You experienced it
I wanted-
firsthand yourself.
Yeah, I wanted freedom of my country entirely. I needed Britain out of here. Britain had no right to be here. We were here for 800 years, invaded the country, you know?
Yeah, because you get, even to this day, you get situations where people would say, this should happen or this shouldn't happen, when you've experienced it yourself.
Yeah.
So you were in prison, experienced it yourself every single day, every single hour. So you get out of prison, and where does that leave you? Where are you at then?
Well, these mean my whole life had changed because my friends had moved on.
Yeah.
The girls I knew had got married and all, you know, so you're trying to pick up a wee bit of your life. But at the same time, I was active now in the Irish Republican Army, you know.
Fair enough.
And I wouldn't say notorious, but I was well known. I was wanted for a long time.
Okay.
I was on the run for a long time.
This sounds like a weird question to ask, but I'm just going to come out with it. Did that come with a little bit of maybe pedigree? Did you kind of like that, or was it just come with it and you had to deal with it?
I think at the start when you're young, you know, and you're thinking people's looking at you.
Well, younger ones impressed, the girls may be impressed.
Yes.
Do you know?
But I don't think we're too impressive. I never really got too many good looking ones, you know.
Yeah.
But No, I understand where you're coming
So
from.
someone watching this will be like, oh, well, can't you remember me?
Yes, and the funny thing is, I'm a very private person. I know I'm sitting here talking to
Podcast,
all these people, but at the same time, I'm very private. So being on a run, there's nothing funny about it because you're going to live in supporters' house, strangers you've never met. You're going to live in their house, and maybe have their kids there. You're sleeping on the sofa.
Yes.
You're taking a little bit of food that they have. Then you're moving into our house, strangers. It's very hard for me because I'm a very private person. You know what I mean? So that was really tough.
Did you think maybe that they were trying to just get anyone from the RA back behind bars as well? You've done your time, you're out. Do you think they were just looking to get you back in there some way? Or?
Well, the British didn't care. They started interning people who were Catholics and Arsenals. Anybody that they thought would upset the state or the status quo, they were interning teachers, professors, people who never had a parking ticket.
Yeah.
They were putting them into prison.
Wow.
You know,
just
under the orders of the unionist government here at the time, because they were still ruling the roost, you know, before the British government stepped in.
Wow. So you're out of prison, you're house hopping. Where did that leave you? What come with that way?
Well, you know, I was doing my thing as an active member of the Irish Republican Army, and then one Sunday I was heading in. I'm not going to say where I was heading, but I was in a van with 5 other comrades, and we were armed with bombs and machine guns.
Okay.
And we were going down the New Lodge Road where I live.
Yeah.
And we had been informed on. There was a lot of informers going in the area at this time.
Yes, okay.
And really
so you were on a mission as such, but someone had tipped the army or police?
Yes, I was on a mission, and the British Army was tipped off.
Okay.
And just as we got into New Lodge, all these roadblocks went up. We were surrounded by all these British soldiers, a number of guns and all, pointing at us. So we all got out, we had to get out, come out. There were 6 of us, as I said, myself and 5 other comrades, but as the minute we got out, we started fisticuffing with the British soldiers.
I was going to say, did you fear for your life, or if you were fisticuffing with that?
I had no time to think. I instinctively done what I was trained to do. Yeah. And we took them by surprise, because they were expecting us to just put our hands up and line up.
Yes, okay.
We just jumped at them, and they had rifles, and I think they were totally shocked, because their rifles went flying. You know, we started they started 50 cutting us, but they were totally shocked into what was going on here, you know.
Because normally people would just be like,
yes, well, they didn't get that from us,
because
we were quite hardened.
Yeah.
And we all got away.
Yeah, right, okay.
We escaped. The helicopters were brought all around the whole of Belfast trying to find us.
I'm laughing, and I don't mean to laugh.
I wasn't laughing, I was crapping myself.
But that's some experience in itself.
Yeah, well, it's not an experience.
But you got away.
People, but we all got away. I was on a run for about 2 months.
Right.
And then I was caught again doing another operation. Okay. Which I'm not going to talk about.
No problem.
But I was informed on once again, and I was captured. And this time I was given 10 years. British.
Okay.
But this time, once I got, it was no longer long cash, which was political status. You were recognised as a prisoner of war by the British.
Yes.
Margaret Thatcher.
That woman is mentioned on this podcast.
She burned in hell, but she took away political status, it caused an awful lot of trouble. So we had to go in this place, it's a nightmare, the Gates Blacks.
Okay. Now this is really well known, this is where the homeless stuff.
This is a frightening place.
Yeah. So go into that.
The Gates Blacks were designed first of all by the Nazis to secure the Jews before they gassed them. Yeah. These are where the original blueprints came. So Margaret Thatcher's government took these blueprints, built these Gates Blacks, each one was an individual prison within inside a prison. Quite frightening. And we only heard rumours of these places being built as Gates Blacks, you know, but you'd sort of hear these stories about it. And I never thought I'd ever be in one. But the day I was sentenced, I came up in a van with 2 loyalists. They had been sentenced also.
Can I just ask, I know you said you want to mention the operational missionary one. You got 10 years. Was it completely in just 10 years, or do you think?
Well, this is my country. Yeah. Nobody British should be telling me how I should be going to jail. I can't go to London and put somebody in jail.
Yeah, true.
You know?
I get 100%. Yeah.
For me, I was a freedom fighter.
Yes.
I shouldn't be put in jail by a foreign country. Yes. You know? Everybody has their disputes, you know, everybody calls them different things, but to me I'll always be a freedom fighter, because that's always I was freedom.
Fair enough.
Freedom for my country.
You're in the H block?
In the H blocks, as I say, I got sentenced for having machine guns and bombs for 10 years. I was in the H block, but before, when I come up to the reception in the H blocks, they put you in a little cubicle individually, so I was put in, 2 loyalists were put in, you know, 3 in this uniform, prison uniform. Okay. Closed the door and said, put that on. Because I just come back from a court, had my suit and all on this here. So I says, no, I'm not putting it on. The screw looked at me and said, what? I said, no, we're not a political prisoner, not a criminal.
Okay.
He said, well, you'll put it on.
Right.
So we closed
See
the
where
door.
this is going, yeah.
Yeah. So he went away, and the two lawyers, they put the uniform on them. They went up to his block, so they don't recognise themselves as political prisoners anymore.
Yeah.
You know, they have to go along.
So it wasn't just you doing this, it was everyone kind of under the same.
Republicans.
Yeah.
Only Republicans, because loyalists regard themselves as part of status quo.
Yeah.
They cannot fight the status quo, even though they're fucking raising saying,
Yeah.
we should be going on the protest too, but they can't do that. They're not allowed, because it would be like, join the IRA, you're going against the status quo, but they can't. So they're way up to do the jobs, menial jobs, or whatever they're doing. So the screws had me sitting there. I was sitting there for about 4 hours. So you imagine the thoughts going through your head, sitting in this quiet cubicle.
And what age are you at this stage?
What time? It was about 20, I think.
About 20, okay.
About 20.
So not long out, actually.
No, it was only out 10 months I got captured.
Yeah.
You know, didn't have much of time, you know.
No, a lot of women around Belfast avoided you, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe I left them, you know. I was glad to get rid of them, you know. But they came in and they said, so Millar, you still haven't put on this uniform. So I told you that. The next thing, I started punching me and ripping off my suit. Just turned into me, you know. Quite. There was only about 6 of them.
You on your own?
On my own.
Right.
No place, and then I dead.
Okay.
In this cubicle, all these screws were pinning in, you know. Nerve-wracking, like. So they stripped me naked, punching me and all this here, and they pulled me out naked. And then the next thing was they had me by the ankles. They're pulling me up along all this tarmac. You know what tarmac is? So they're turning me up by the ankles.
Torturing, basically.
Yeah. The next thing it's ripping all the skin on my back and legs and all, you know, that's here, and then threw me in the van naked. So we get up to H-Blocks, and it's really nerve-wracking place, you know, it's like a Dracula's castle sort of thing we're going to, you know. And the gates, all the gates, there's so many gates opening and your heart's beating and their screws are nuts. Says, oh, you're in for a treat here. You don't know what you're going to get, you know. So you're turning.
Are they trying to put on you mentally that maybe people will hate you there? And...
Well, they know, they're telling you they know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Because what you're going to get now is nothing compared to what you got down the reception, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm walking in, I'm bleeding, naked, and they pulled me in, and all the screws is there with the buttons, waiting for me, you know. And the governor's there. He's sitting in the chair, he's surrounded by all these screws, you know, and so you're standing there naked, like, blood pouring out of you, all this here, you know. He says, starts inquiring, I refused to answer, and his question, I refused to talk to him, you know. So one of the screws gave me a big baton, you know, in the stomach. He says, call a governor, sir, Millar. Now, one thing my father always taught me, he says, you never call anyone, sir, no matter what, you never, and I refuse. So every time you ask me a question, I refuse to answer him. Whack the back of the neck, whatever the legs, you know.
It's in front of everyone. So.
Front of all these screws.
Right.
In the circle, I call it the circle. And the governor's sitting there, you know what I mean? He's watching getting the crap out of you. Doesn't care, doesn't give a damn, you know.
Right.
As you get brought down to your cell, trailed down into the cell, and the cell's a wee very small place, you know, you're on your own. And I just started a nightmare.
Okay.
With the H-Blocks. I didn't know what day I went in there, what awaited me.
Right, and
tell me,
so I have heard this before, but for the point of our podcast. So you're there, you've just been beaten in front of all the screws. What happened to them? Like, where did...
Put you in your cell, it's very quiet, because everybody's quiet, everybody's frightened.
Are they mixing people at the stage?
No, these are only IRA prisoners.
Okay.
And they're all naked and they're sitting in their rooms, there's nothing there, there's no clothes there.
Did you think, it's probably a weird question to ask, but I hope you understand why I'm asking it. Did you think you went through worse than some people, or would there have been some comrades that had gone through worse than you?
Well, I knew there was a handful of comrades before me.
Yeah.
I was like number 8 or something.
Right.
First blanket man. So I knew there was men here, like, so I was waiting till all quiet.
They were all getting the same?
They were getting the same treatment. They already went through it. Some of them had been there a couple of weeks before me, so they'd already had experienced it, you know. So I knew I had my comments here, but I didn't know where the war was. Scared to start talking, you know, because you've got this terrible fear after getting this beaten. The last thing you want is to not get another beaten, you know. Next thing I heard somebody saying, Sam. So it's one of my mates, you know.
Right, that's good. Was that a bit of a...
Oh, that was it. That was me lifted.
Yeah.
My whole morale, and I didn't give a shit about the beating now. I went out the window, I didn't care anymore.
Right.
So we're starting to talk. I said, this is why it happens, this is what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And that was the start of my life when I hit back. It was a nightmare.
Right, well...
Because it just got worse. I mean, the torture was incredible.
And, I mean, I hate to ask this, but I suppose there's a reason that we're putting this out there. Say, your book, obviously, and things like that. So, you mentioned, it seems to me from what you've told me, the coming in was quite mild to what you actually put up with when you got there. Yeah. It was a nightmare. Are you okay mention what went on?
Yes,
so,
no problem.
So tell me.
So, to cut a long story short, a thing happened called the Blanket Men. And what we were called that because all they gave you was this tiny blanket. It was like a Brillo pad. Don't know if you know what a Brillo pad is. Very rough sort of a thing, you know.
Metal-y.
Yeah. So that's why you had to cover your dignity, you know. And it was very rough, and you're always scratching and it's turning your skin, you know. So we got the nickname of Blanket Man. It's a very famous name in the Republican circle. And if you're a blanket man anywhere in the north of Ireland, you're regarded as a hero.
Okay.
After this started, the screws were beating us coming out. We couldn't come out of the cells, so we had to stay in the cells. And when you're in your cell, you're not allowed to go to the toilet. So we had no other option but to spread our shite on the walls, pish out the door. It's quite horrendous. And I remember the first couple of weeks thinking, I'm going to commit suicide here, I can't live like this, you know what I mean? But we had no other choice because you're going to get beat, you know?
Yeah.
And then the more men come on, and now screws now got word from 10 Downing Street, you have to break this protest.
Yeah.
You can't allow this to get out of hand because now all of a sudden Irish Americans are hearing rumours that there's a lot of prisoners being tortured in Long Cash. There was only little rumours, we had no communications, no visits.
Yes.
No visits. I never seen my family for 8 years.
And this is going to sound like another weird question, but we've got about 5 minutes left of the first part, so the second part will come into the American kind of part of your life. But was there anyone in that period, and I know you're going to go a bit more into that, any screw, any kind of person that had a little bit kind of sympathy for you, or were they all just absolute, I won't say the word scumbags, but come on, were they all absolute hell, or was there anyone that gives you a little bit of respect? Anyone?
The screws, to me, are the lowest form of creatures.
Okay.
There's something wrong with a person who takes a job as a screw. I think are cowards, or they've been beaten in their life when they were kids and they want to get revenge on people, because you take it to be a very special person to lock people up. But not only were they locking us up, they were torturing us. I mean, they were raping us. I was raped.
Right, okay.
Understand?
Yes.
So I said, we shot 38 of them dead.
Okay.
Larry was asking us what was happening here.
Yeah.
And I wanted hundreds of them killed. I wanted hundreds of them shot dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there was only 30. A lot of people are horrified when they're saying.
And there was no one, there wasn't even one or two.
I'll go explain it to you now. But for me, I wanted them. I wanted as many of them as killed as possible, But there was one, and when you read the book On the Brinks, you'll see a chapter called The Volunteer.
Okay.
It's about a screw.
Okay.
Who was decent, who didn't want involved in what was going on. And now and again he'd come up to you and tell you news that's going on, because we had no concept of what was going on outside the world.
Yes,
we had no radios, books,
fair
nothing. We were in this massive prison camp
where
no communication from people. So he'd come up, and when the food was getting given out, the screws used to spit on it and all. But he always made sure that none of that went on.
Okay.
And he never.
What was his agenda, or was it?
His agenda was he was a Christian.
He was a certain person.
I know we know Christians could burn your house down to the ground, but this was actually a guy that actually believed in it. Yes. He didn't believe. Now, how he became a screw, I don't know. Maybe he thought, I'm going to talk to these guys and change their whole life if I talk to them as a Christian. I don't know what was behind his agenda. Plus, he was a decent human being, I think. Don't know why he ever became a screw, But he never participated in any beatings, and he always got dogs abuse from the Irish screws. We used to call him a card and an ARA lover.
So let me ask this, and you mentioned them, which is great. That was the question I was getting at. These screws, and I think it's well publicised of how evil they were to you guys.
They were war criminals.
Would they like getting a loophole? And I'm using the word scumbag because I don't know what else to use, but they would just find a way basically to be evil to other people because they could get away with it, and there wouldn't be many other situations in life where you could get away with it. That's why they were doing it, do you think? Just evil.
First of all, they were from a loyalist unionist background.
Right,
so there was the agenda. It was that agenda, but they were getting big bonuses from 10 Downing Street. They were getting super wages. They weren't getting ordinary screw wages. Right. They were getting super duper wages.
Just because they don't have to use.
They got after us just because they were getting shot dead. They were getting shot dead because what they were doing us.
Yes.
So they were getting us. There were screws coming from England, Scotland, and Dublin.
Just to come
here because the wages was 4 or 5 times what they were getting. So they were getting this big bounty. They didn't want the protest to end, even though they were getting shot dead. They were so greedy because they were getting so much money. It was unbelievable. They used to boast 5 holidays, bought a new car there, rubbing us into you like, because you're lying there getting a shit kicked out of you.
And when we say shot dead, this sounds like, I don't want to go into it as too much detail or name it like that, but I'm assuming that would have been from when word got out. It would have been when they were making their way home, or
yes.
Yeah, no.
We were getting our names, and the ones who were particularly enjoying torturing you We would send the word out to the IRA, and the IRA would shoot them dead in front of their family, or blow them up in their car.
Mm.
You know, and I know somebody for the schools.
100%. How could you blame
Why
it?
would you? They're getting tortured.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
And the schools were terrified because psychologically they didn't know was it going to be them tonight. And then some of the schools came to us and started informing on the Irish crews who was doing the beatings.
Right, for safety for them and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
and they were put on the list of keep them safe.
This is just a lot for me to take into.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of minutes before we go to the second part of the podcast. But, so, you're in H block. You were there for 8 years, did you say?
8.5 years.
Where you were sentenced for 10.
Sounds like 10, so I've done most of it.
So when did you come to? I feel like we should be diving more into this, but I can see.
Well, the book details most of it, you know.
Well, there you go. So if you want to find out more graphic, I say graphic details because it's hard to have this conversation. Get the book, obviously. But you're towards then you're coming out. And when did you get out and how did that materialise?
Got out of the thing was now always a wee bit confused me. You know, I'm almost 70 here, so the man is brilliant. No, I think I got out in 1983.
Yeah.
And my first idea was to strike Britain even harder than what I did the first time.
Yeah.
It didn't defeat me being in prison. It toughened me up even more.
Yeah.
So I was single-mindedly going to do things. I wasn't going to have any girlfriends, anything to weigh me down.
What age are you now? 30?
Yeah, around about the 30 mark.
Yeah.
You know, so I was determined now to do something that stopped me, the British government,
Yeah.
the British Empire, whatever. They didn't know what hit them.
Yeah,
That was my agenda.
Can anyone blame you?
No, how can you?
Exactly.
Foreigners doing this to you in your own country, you know?
Definitely. So what we'll do, guys, we'll take a quick break here, and then we'll go to the second podcast where we'll talk about where that led. Yes. I know you end up in America. So we'll take a quick break here, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
Maldron Hotel, Belfast city centre, is an ideal location for anyone looking to stay in central Belfast. Contact them on 028 96 00 1680. That's 02896 00 1680. That's Maldron Hotel, Belfast city centre.
Plenty of Ammo podcast. Here I am with Sam Millar. The first podcast drove me back. I've interviewed a lot of people, Sam, a lot of famous footballers. People know me, and famous people, but this story is really reminiscent in my head, and it's getting to me. But this is why I'm doing this, so don't feel that you have to hold back anything. I'm really fascinated. So you've come out to H block. You've spent 8.5 years in there. You're around 30, so it seems like the generations in your life you haven't actually been able to experience being a teenager,
100%.
the 20s,
yeah.
That alone, never mind the torture, you miss a lot.
You know.
So there you are, you're 30, you've come up, you've got, I don't want to say this hated, but you said you were a freedom fighter, more determined than ever.
Oh, that's what the word is, more determined.
You've come out, and yeah, so where did that lead you?
Well, I'll tell you what exactly changed everything. I got out with one determination in my head, that was to destroy the British Empire, get them out of my country, hurt them even more than I had hurt them before, you know. But this time I didn't have any baggage, didn't have friends, family, girlfriend, didn't have nobody near me.
Okay.
I had one clear mission in my head, you know, and it was like a monk dedicating myself to this great cause, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds corny, like.
No, but I get you saying it.
You know, but anyway, I'll cut a long story short, I was going up in New Lodge Road where I was living, and my father called me. My father was in charge of all the security in all the Republican clubs, called the Fennels.
Okay.
And they're very famous clubs where political prisoners go to, you know. So he's in charge of all the security. And I remember we have a big one in New Lodge Road where I lived, and he called me over. It was a Saturday. I was going up to New Lodge Road to meet another IRA man. And he says, "Son, can you take care of the door? You know, look after the door so there's no bombs coming in just for 10 minutes. So we need to run in here." So I thought I was way to pass him. So I stood there. Next thing, this young girl comes out, you know. And she's beautiful, you know. She says, "You want to talk to me?" To me? And I'm saying, "No, I don't even know you." She said, "Your daddy sent me and says you want to talk to me."
Right.
Little did I know, my daddy had this plan in his head for a load of months, all the time, because once he heard what had happened, all the torture and all, it broke him. He was just shattered, man.
I hate to say this, but I'm trying to think of the funny side of it, but would you have also said with all those years of missing out, you probably wasn't the best at maybe approaching a lady?
No way with it. I was a nervous wreck.
Right, yeah.
That's why I kept myself away from people. People used to say, "Son, you never talk to me." And you got to say, "Yeah, I fucking changed. I was Could you imagine what I went through? When you want me to go out and have a night's conversation
Yes.
about Liverpool winning the cup or whatever it was,
Yeah.
you know? You don't want to talk to me.
Shout out to Liverpool, but yeah. No, I get what you're saying. So she comes out, you're man in the door.
And I'm thinking, no, I don't know where you got this, you know. She said, well, your daddy just sent me and says, you're looking to talk to me. And I said, no. Little did I know, my daddy had this plan to get me away from the Republican, the militant part of the Republican movement, because he thought I'd suffered enough, done enough. And it just broke him, because once he found out the torture we went under, he was a broken man.
Yeah.
You know?
And I suppose it's a situation where, in a lot of situations in a son or daughter's life, as a parent, you can try and get justice for them or do this or that, but this has gone way beyond.
Yeah.
He couldn't, the only thing he could do, from what I'm gathering, is get you away from it.
Yes.
So you met this lady, and I'm assuming that's how you end up
in
America.
Young girl, like, you know, so about 10, I was 10 years older.
Right,
I was a bit pervert, like, you know what I mean?
Ah, but sure.
But she was gorgeous, you know, so I'm talking about it. I said, no, I don't really understand. And then next thing my father pops, I said, oh son, that's Bernadette. I said, Dad, what the hell? And I was like, what are you doing? Like, I was making faces like I fucking killed you when I got home.
And he's a typical father.
He's making like all casual. So little that I know, he had planned for me to meet Bernie because he believed that I had fallen in love with her. It was all since dead corny, you know. I think he was thinking about his own father, the Orange Man, falling in love down Cork and all like this here. But the next thing she said, but they want to go to the pictures, the movies, like, and I thought, the fucking movies, like, I never even thought about the movies. What's the movies like? You know,
have you been to the movies?
Yeah. At that time, we went the next day, and it wasn't nothing like, you know, holding hands and all. The next thing I realised, I was in love with this girl.
Right.
And
so it comes to situation what your dad
came
planned.
to the city, it came to the city, and I was thinking more for the area. I started shying away from the area. You know, I'm still in an area, I'm still a staunch area, but see when I had to go and meet somebody in the area, I was saying, fuck it, you know, I want to be with Bernie. I want to be with Bernie. And that's all I wanted to be, and that's what became.
Yeah.
And then one day, about a week later, postman arrived and came to the house, gave me an envelope. I'll never forget it. I opened it up. There was 10 $100 bills in it from a friend of mine in New York. I looked at it, I mean, I hadn't got 50p, and all of a sudden I'm looking at $1,000.
Wow.
He says, Sam, why don't you come over to the casino, you and Bernie, get a holiday, you went through enough hell.
Right.
Come over here for a holiday, you're going to love it. New York.
Okay.
He says, nah, fuck it, I'd never leave Belfast.
And the rest is history.
Of course I left Belfast, you know.
Right,
so back for 15 years.
What stage do you think, right, I'm going to go? Did she convince you, or did someone else convince you? Or?
No, I had to go and talk to a couple of people because I was feeling guilty about leaving Belfast. You know, I talked to a couple of people who had lost family members during the war. A couple of friends and all, and I spoke to them, and they said, no, get you over there, you've suffered enough. You went through hell.
It's mad actually, so let's just forget about New York for a second in America. It's actually mad that you've just said that. So you have watched people die, families go through stuff, you know, their loved ones gone, and you went through hell yourself. But instead of sitting there thinking about yourself, you were sitting there thinking, oh, I can't, the loyalty towards your comrades, that was one of your first thoughts.
That was always my top priority.
Yeah.
My friends had lost and comrades had lost, and I couldn't turn my backs on them.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the women who had lost 2 sons, their sons were murdered by the British Army. I was speaking to her and I said, look on, I have a chance to go to New York here, only for a couple of weeks to get my head checked. And but feeling guilty, she looked at me and said, why would you feel guilty?
Yeah.
You know?
It's corny, but I'm actually getting, I don't want to say trapped, but I'm getting enthralled in your story. We actually really feel for you. So anyway, so you've got the dollar bills, you've got the casino job opportunity, was it?
Pardon?
A job opportunity.
Yes, job opportunity.
And Bernie's going to come with you. So this might sound illegal, but could you have made your way over there legally at that time? Or tell me.
Bernie made her way over legally. She'd never been in trouble in her life.
Yeah.
Well, of course, me being in the area, I wasn't allowed in America, you know.
And do you ever think, sorry to interrupt, do you ever think, what on earth was she doing, like looking at you, or like?
Yeah, I hadn't a clue. Why would you want me and all this here? You know, I mean, I thought they might dad pay her money just for me to go out for the weekend. You know, I still baffled, like, you know, I used to laugh. I said, like, well, why did you see me? And then what I found out, this is, I'll give you this quick thing.
Yes.
I didn't realise she was a young sister of an old friend of mine. I hadn't seen in years. And she says, do you never remember me? No, she's talking to me later. She says, you used to bring me across the road to school.
Wow.
To make sure I wasn't knocked down by a car.
She remembered that.
And she says, I always told my mummy, one day I'm going to marry Sammy Millar. And her mummy's like, can't you yourself fall? You know?
Wow.
That's just a bizarre
Right.
twist.
So she gets over to New York
Yeah.
legally. You obviously can't do that. So
No.
what did you do?
I was smuggled in by Irish Americans.
Okay. So did you fly over, or how was just?
Well, I flew over to Canada. Then Irish Americans took over from there, got smuggled in, you know.
Yeah, and so New York City of all places,
New York, of
the
course.
Big Apple. Wow.
Greatest place in the world, you know.
So this is what would have been 90s, would have been.
Yeah, the early 90s.
Early 90s. So you're in the Big Apple, early 90s. A little bit different from Belfast.
It was the first time, because when I first entered New York, I couldn't believe the sensation that was taken over me, and it took a long time for me to explain to myself what it was. It was actually freedom.
Yeah.
I'd never experienced freedom all my life.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden here I was laughing, and people were looking at me in New York and must have thought I was on drugs or something. I was just giggling and laughing like an idiot, you know what I mean? Because I thought this is what freedom means, you know? And then when I started in the casino, like it was like Hollywood.
And
couldn't believe it.
Let me ask you, so in the casino, I've been to casinos in Liverpool and Belfast, all over the world actually, and it was a roulette or blackjack or blackjack. So that you could do a podcast on that in itself, couldn't you?
Yes, you could.
But yeah, so you're in the casinos, you've got freedom, you've got the love of your life, you know, you've got simple little things that people like me now take for granted.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're in New York. Did you get offered the job in the casino, or was you just there for night out?
No, the job was guaranteed for me if I wanted, because the guy who owned it, the casinos, was an Irish American, Johnny Mack.
Yeah.
He was a big supporter of public movement.
Yeah.
And there was different blackjack dealers from Puerto Rico, different parts of America, Brazil, but he was always wanting the Irish there to be with him, especially Republicans who knew would have his back.
So tell me this, I'll ask you a couple of questions. I know this is about you, about your book and about your story, but just as a kind of me being a bit nosy scouser, so you're in the casinos, would it be fair to say that even at that stage you gathered a little bit of a reputation, as I say, a good reputation through the IRA, and that's what kind of got you there?
Well, people who knew me,
comrades
who already knew me were still working in the casino, so they knew we all knew we were like brothers, we were better brothers, because a black man becomes better than a brother.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. It's a whole new dimension when you're a blanket man, you're in the room with another blanket man.
Yeah.
You know, the two of you will go to war for each other, regardless of who's right or who's wrong. Unlike your brothers who may hesitate, two blanket men will not hesitate.
Fair enough.
There's that invisible camaraderie.
Fair enough. See, in the casinos, you got this freedom, you got the love of your life, and I mean, obviously, we want to go into the bank robbery and such, and then we were, but seeing the casino, I'd say you had seen some mad scenes in there and all kinds.
Seen all these movie stars, boxing stars, all this sort of stuff.
Name drop. Who?
Andy Quinn, Jack Lemmon, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Wow.
And the guy with Baldy Head Haggard. Sugar Ray Haggard. Marvelous Haggard.
Are you a blackjack dealer at this stage?
I'm just a blackjack dealer. I went to New Jersey and got my license.
Was the money good? Was it?
Well, listen, I'm telling you, the money was unbelievable. Plus, you're getting paid every day, tax free because it was illegal.
Yeah.
And you're getting a big tip every day. The minute you walked in, there was an envelope waiting for you. I couldn't fucking believe the money I was making.
Name it. How much was it?
I was making like $400 a night.
Wow.
Now, how much? 400. But for a guy from Belfast, at the end of the week, I was coming over $2,000. $2,000 way back in 1980.
Right.
So a guy never had a fiver.
And tell me this, at what stage, this sounds like a stupid question, but at what stage do you think, right, I'm going to go back to Belfast?
At that stage.
There you go.
What do you talk? It was finished.
What do you talk?
You know, I was living in a lovely neighbourhood, my wife was pregnant, everything was going great for me, and I had all this freedom, and I was a workaholic. And then things started to get better because Johnny Mack started to look at me and he says he needed the one man who he could trust with all the money.
Okay.
I became what's known as a box manager. I was in charge of every dollar.
How many years is this after since you started in the casino?
I was only there for about a year.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. So, is it fair to say, and this is my understanding, is it fair to say that punters that went in the casino knew that the IRA kind of connection to the casino would stop them from maybe trying to cheat the casino and stuff like that? Would that be fair to say?
That's hard to say.
It's hard to say because people would still cheat the casino anyway.
Yes, I don't think they thought, well, I'm not going to go in there and cheat the area. It wasn't an area casino, it just happened to be a guy who was sympathetic to area.
Right,
and there were a few area dealers in it, you know, car dealers and stuff like that there.
So you go to be the head of cash, or what you saying?
Yeah, it was called a box manager. It's only one, but his father used to be a box manager.
Okay.
But he thought his father was dipping into it, so he started to mistrust his father and took him away from it all. And he was looking for the one person that he thought he could trust 100%.
And that was you.
It was this guy that didn't drink or smoke, family man.
Yeah.
I was home, working home.
Yeah.
And I was, plus he heard about my reputation back home.
Yeah.
And he brought me in one day and I was crap myself because Donny Mac's a scary guy. He's in prison for killing a guy.
Okay.
And you're always wondering, fuck, have I done something wrong here? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he says, no, he says, Sam, why don't you take over the whole operations of all the casinos?
He was your boss effectively.
He was.
It's fair enough. So
He's a gentleman.
you come into this job and tell me what happened. So it's a lot of trust. Considering you went from, I don't mean this in a bad way, but we're sitting here in Belfast City Centre now, the streets of Belfast and the troubles, to being in New York, in the casino, with a really decent job, decent money, baby on the way.
It's brilliant. I mean, only in America.
Yeah.
You know?
The
America
American
down in
dream.
Belfast, being a second class citizen.
The American
you know what I mean?
dream.
The American dream came through for me and I just couldn't believe what did I do to deserve it? Was it all that out of torture? Was this God giving me a wee bit back? You know what I mean? Why you're thinking, why is this all good stuff happening to me? Like, you know? What he just says, just take care of all the money. My job is to make sure all the money, the cops never came because the cops would raid the public morals, they call themselves, they came in with sledgehammers looking for all the money. Because the casinos were all illegal.
Yeah.
So they would always come in every odd night trying to find the money. They would keep it themselves, like. So
Right.
my job would be one step ahead of them.
Yes, yes.
At all times, you know. And
So you were illegal?
illegal.
The casinos?
Yeah, I was getting arrested all the time. So I got arrested fucking twice, 3 times a week.
I didn't know that.
Went through night court, went into jail and all. The judge started getting to know me. I was at many times with him, you know.
Right, okay. And
It's so funny, but America
this sounds like such a naive question. Are you dealing with maybe mafia people at this stage, or is it just...
No, there's mafia people come in and deal.
Yeah.
As customers.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of customers, Jewish people, Russians, everybody you could mention came into casinos, you know. But we weren't anything to do with mafia. Mafia had their own casinos out in Brooklyn and all.
Yeah.
We were in the middle of Manhattan.
So you were just a blackjack dealer that went into doing this back cashing, being in charge of the money. And what was like, when did your first child come? Was it your son, was it?
No, my first child was, she died.
Oh, sorry.
And
Yeah.
then I had another wee girl, and then another wee girl, and then a wee boy.
Okay.
And then my wife sort of said, right, we've had enough, you know. That's it.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, everything was taken care of, and when he came to me, give me a job, and he just said to me, you're not going to get a wage, but you're going to get a percentage at the end of each year. Which really set me up even higher.
Yeah,
you know.
Okay, fair enough. So how many years, this is a year into your...
Yes, it's just that same year that started, like probably about 8-9 months.
Do you mind me asking what kind you were earning in that percentage each year? Or
it's like 6 figures.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
Don't really want to go into it.
No, absolutely.
The American tax people are still off.
Yeah, well that's it, you know,
have to be careful.
There's a stat somewhere, the maths are somewhere in New York. But anyway, listen, so you said yourself there, you felt it was come back because of all the torture that you've been through. At this stage, you're in New York, you're healthy lifestyle, doing good, you're here for good. At what stage, and this sounds like a stupid question, I know you're probably going to introduce a guy in another podcast, at what stage do you think, right, I'm going to go and rob a bank?
No, never robbed a bank.
Okay, well, part of it, wasn't it?
There's no banks robbed.
Okay.
What I robbed was an armoured car depot. It's a fort.
Okay, so tell me about that.
Heavily secured armoured car, 30 armoured cars on it, heavy guards all over the place.
Okay.
So that's what I robbed.
So tell me all about that.
Well,
at what stage did you think, right, I mean, life's going so well?
Well, like, my life is going well. I have a good friend. He's an American cop.
Okay.
A highly decorated American cop. And I was thinking, here's a fucking area. Well, what you doing, my friend? There's a cop. We shoot cops here in Belfast, you know?
Yeah.
But that's Irish American is different. When you go to America, your friends could be cops. You know, because all they're talking about is baseball, and they're not talking about shooting somebody because they're a fucking Catholic or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're getting into it, and he was a great man. Not only that, he was also the personal guard of Malcolm X. He looked after Malcolm X when Malcolm X was doing all the tour of New York. The cops beside him because he's such a brave guy, like, you know, highly decorated. But anyway, he had a moonlight job in a brewery upstate New York. And every now and again he'd invite me up, especially the 4th of July when we'd be up celebrating American kicking the Brits out of America.
Of course.
So I'd be up there like 4 or 5 times a year.
Wouldn't be your scene, would it?
Oh no, I wouldn't be involved in that sort of thing, you know. And so I went in, I couldn't believe it. The first time I went in, he showed me, he had a job also in a place called the Brinks.
Okay.
Now, this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Because people who don't know the Brinks, it's very, very famous. It's like Fort Knox.
Yeah.
It's the most famous secure money place in America.
Yeah.
So he was also the security guard in there. So he's invited me up to this, and I'm looking. I came in the first night he brought me in. I could not believe it. The safes are all the size of like he sees cupboards here in this room.
Right.
Enormous. Packed with money. And the strange thing is, the doors are allowed wide open.
Wow.
Right? And the money's all spilling out onto the floor. There's all these guards, all heavily armed guards. So I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, you know, without really saying anything. So I said, Tom, what's this? Well, we're burning it tomorrow. There's no point in letting it up. So we've got that American attitude, like, fuck it, I'm not going to do this here. You know, what's the point when we're going to burn it in 6 hours' time? I just thought, fuck it, brilliant. The next thing I seen this guy coming in, this didn't come in until the court. This guy came in with 3 pizzas. So I'm sort of thinking, where the fuck did he come from? And Tom said, we don't lock the front door. Because what's the point going all the way down them stairs and through there, that corridor and letting him in? They just leave it open with a wee pencil, go from closing. I was thinking, are they fucking crazy? So I never thought nothing of it, you know.
But you didn't think so of it?
Obviously it won't leave my head. I said, somewhere in the back of my head, not even thinking about it. So I'm down in New York, a couple of times the casinos was getting hit so hard by the cops, so it was coming up to elections and I really fucking hurt you, and I'm thinking, you know something, I know it's good money here, but such a cure. I need something that I don't need to won't worry anymore if I'm going to have this job tomorrow, you know?
Absolutely.
All of a sudden the brink started coming to me, and I seen that money, you know? So I started germinating in the back of my head this plan. And the plan was to rob the fucking brinks, but now not any great deal of money. I was looking for about 200,000 or 300,000, just so as I could buy a comics book store. The dream come through. Have my own comic book store in America. Wife and kids, everybody's happy ever after, you know.
Right. Okay.
So that was my whole plan from the start. So now all I had to do now is think of somebody else who had bare balls, who's willing to do this mal, because it's small. It's not so big madness.
You like it? It's funny.
You're in this big fort, heavily armed fort. You're going to get killed. You know, and I says, well, I'm only playing myself, I'm not really going to do it. So sort of like trying to get myself excited, you know what I mean? Well, about 2 years had passed, and I met this guy from Liverpool, Scouter, you know, he was Liverpool Irish. And there's a boxer, he was actually one of the guys, he used to be a manager in the casino, one of the casinos, you know. He's a bit of a strange character, but very, very intelligent guy, you know.
Not everyone from Liverpool was strange characters, just
no, but it was not a strange character in a bad way. Just eccentric, that's the word I was looking for, sorry. Eccentric, you know. Because he always had these big books that he was trying to get published, you know. These were scientific books that he wanted to prove his father had wrote them before these famous scientists had wrote them, you know. So he was always determined to get them published, like, you know, things like this here. Plus he was a character, everybody knew him. He got about with Dawson Hoffman and all. So he was like, he knew all the big shots and all that, you know. But I said, because he's a well-known boxer in Liverpool and all, he knocked about, there's a couple of famous black boxers from Liverpool, their brothers, forget their names, knocked about all them and all. And I used to see them operating in the casino, no stopping trouble right away, jumping right away, no trouble, grabbing them, out they went. You know, I said, fuck, he's a guy, you know, with balls like it.
Fair enough,
So I saw, went over, approached him. I said, look, there's a chance of getting a few 100,000 here. He was all for it. So we planned it. I don't want to go on too long about that because you read a book, you'll find out all about what happened. Cut a long story short, Ronnie sort of like chickened out of the whole thing. Once you got up there and he seen what he had to do, he more or less said, you're fucking crazy, like, there's no way. The way you were describing was dead easy, because he's seen the big fort, all the armoured cars going on. These armoured cars, what to do is to drop off all the money from the whole east coast into this big fort. And then these guys working there burn it all the next morning, and new money's given to them. So it keeps circulating the new money, you know, and get rid of all the...
There must have been inside jobs there all the time as well, probably.
I'm sure plenty of people were thinking about doing it, you know what I mean? Because the funny thing is, see, they arrested me. Before they arrested me, I got away with it for about a year. They arrested all the Hells Angels in the East Coast, because I thought it was the Hells Angels done it.
Right.
And then when I'm in the penitentiary, I meet all the Hells Angels and say, you fucker, you know? You know?
We'll go into that.
So anyway, cut long story short, I was all fucked up. Once he reneged, because I needed another person to back me up, you know, if I thought I could have done me, I'd have fucking done me, but I knew.
Of course,
I wasn't that fucking crazy, like, you know. So I was at finished that, and I says, I was a warning to you, because I was having the wee devil and the wee angel here in my shoulders, you know, and the wee angel saying, that's a warning to get that out of your head, you know, don't be listening to that wee devil. I put it in my head for about a year.
Right.
The things started to go screwy in the casino.
Okay.
They closed. I had a lot of money saved up, but I knew, fuck, that's not going to do me.
Yeah.
And it's the money I'm used to, because I'm living on a top neighbourhood.
In a stupid kind of way, it sounds stupid, but you just plan for your future, like anyone would do.
Exactly, that's what I was doing. That's exactly what I was doing. Because my kids are going to the top Catholic schools, and it's a lot of money over there. You know, it's not like here, free education. Plus the neighbourhood we were living in, this type of neighbourhood. I want to keep my kids and wife safe in a safe neighbourhood, you know?
Yes.
So it was all costing big money. And I started to think, I could only do this for 2 years. This money that I have saved now is going to dwindle.
It's gonna, yeah, it's gonna
So
hit its head.
then I thought, fuck it. I went to the guy I went to, an ex-Marine who'd just come back from Desert Storm, you know, fighting. He was wounded, well known it. And he came in, he's one of charge our security in all the casinos. I went to have him approach him. I said, no problem.
And what was happening with the casino? Like, why was it just...
The cops were putting so much pressure because we won't pay them. We used to pay them all sorts of money, you know, crop money and all that, you know what I mean? But then this group would come in, group from down the village would come in, cops looking at it. You know, and Johnny Max, the guy said, hey, don't give them fuckers $1. I don't care if they burn the place down. You know, he just hated cops, you know? So they were putting so much pressure on all the casinos, they were raiding it, and you just couldn't make it commercially.
Fair enough.
You know? And it was costing him millions.
Yeah.
You know, so afterwards I said, like, so maybe we'll try and recoup, you know, later on, but right now we'll have to close.
Yeah.
You know, it was a big blow for everybody working on it.
Well, for you, you know,
yeah, it was
living your best life as such.
Yeah, of course, and you're thinking, fuck, what am I going to do now, you know?
Right.
But anyway, cut long story short, he and this guy, myself and this guy, went, it was during the snow, winters in New York, or fucking winters, they're not like maybe in Scotland and all, but right here's funny, but it was quite hazardous, and once again you're thinking, this is a warning, you know, this is a warning for you not to do any of this crap. But we got up there, and we got into the brinks. I'm not really going to say how I got in there, you have to read the book if you want to know how we done it.
Yeah.
You know, once we got into it, all the guards were tied up. And we just came up, because we weren't looking a lot of money, we were only looking a couple of $100,000, you know, because I didn't want to be greedy, you know.
Yeah.
And then we went in, we had this little van, only wee small friggin' van, you know, and we packed it till you couldn't put a dollar in it, you know. Close it up. Yeah. Next thing, the car starting to smoke come out of it because we put too much in it. The car couldn't take a weight, you know. So we had to start paying this out. But in the meantime, we know the clock's ticking, the alarms are going to go off in an hour, 2.5 minutes, and we're trying to get out. Always these gates on it, you can't get out the gates, shut automatically, you know what I mean? So we're trying to get the money out, we're sweating like pigs, you know what I mean? We're crapping ourselves, you know? We got all the money, we didn't know how much we got out, didn't know we had still in the van, we get out, we just get out in time, there's a gate coming fucking down. Always we've been trapped.
Like a movie.
Yeah, we've been trapped forever. The minute we got out, I'd say we got out for 2 minutes, and the next thing the helicopters are in the air. And I'm thinking, it's like Belfast, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but then next thing I turn the radio on, I'm driving down to New York, that's 8 hours away, it's a long drive, with all this money, he and I stick on the radio within the space of 10 minutes, the headline news, the Brinks has been robbed. 2 suspects, they're looking for 2, and I fucking thought, I'm going to be, there's no way, we're dead, we're finished, we're going to penitentiary here, there's no way I'm getting 8 hours in the throughway, if they're getting caught by helicopters and all, and the state troopers will get the roadblocks, you know? But somebody was looking after me because we got into New York, got all the money in the world.
Wow, and can you say how much you got? Or?
8 million almost.
Wow. Okay.
You imagine my shop when I seen that sort of money, like I thought, you know, maybe 400,000, I thought, because I had a clue what money looked like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
so, there's a famous story about how you hid it, or?
Oh yes, it was the worst mistake in my life. I've never trusted priests in my life, you know, I've always hated fucking priests. I think it's my granddad's orange blood in me, you know?
Right.
But there's this priest, well known, very good humanitarian down the village in New York, always known for the poor, giving out, and he lives like that life. And a guy says to me, well, if you're going to trust any priest, he's a priest. You always have to trust, you know?
Right.
Cut long story short, I went to him for Pat Mahoney. Says, Pat, and he knew me from before because anytime I came across old furniture and all, I was always donating it to him.
Yeah.
That's where I got to know him for the poor. He'd always donate to the poor side, so I knew people give me stuff and I give it to him. I said, Pat, I've some money. Need you to head it. Because the night we'd done a robbery, I left the van outside the place where I live, and it's a big car park where people have access to it. I mean, think about it, 8 million just sitting in this van outside my home, and I just went to fucking bed. I was so mentally exhausted. Glad I wasn't caught. I didn't give a fuck anymore about the money. The money had started now to become nothing, secondary, you know?
Wow.
So I knew after.
Not many people can say that something like that.
But that's why I was after a while. I was so mentally exhausted, just drained. I just left it there, and anybody could have went and stole that. Somebody could have looked down, especially in New York, could have looked down and said, oh, that looks like something nice, you know what I mean? But I was there next morning, I knew I had to tell somebody. Went to the priest, told him, look, far Pat, I need somewhere to put some money. So he must have thought, because he knew I worked in the casinos, you know, money I had, he must have thought, talking about my wages, plus an illegal alien. He knew he dealt with illegal aliens. So he says, yeah, no problem. He probably saw $50,000, $100,000. So I brought him over to the van, and he seen all these big long bags, you know. So you're still looking at what have you got me here for? I said, it's inside them bags. So in the back of me looking, he said, no fucking money, like I almost fainted. And he stared at it like for a couple of minutes, no word, and I thought, he's going to say no to me, he's going to get me into some sort of shit here, you know what I mean, you shouldn't be getting involved and things like that. He says, okay, I'll look after it. That's the start of it.
Right, and then so you were in court for a year?
Got away with it for a year.
How did they catch you?
Well, let's use a life story, an informer, you know?
Yeah, right, so I
can't go into that there, you'll read it in the book.
No, that's fair enough though. Eventually you faced the US justice system.
Yeah, it was caught, you know, it was a big deal when I was caught. I remember going to Queens in New York, just outside where I was living, and I used to go in there to cleanse all the money. I used to be getting postal orders. It was stupid, very amateur, you know what I mean? Like, but I had a wee shop and I had a comic book store all going this time.
Oh, right, so you did live the dream.
Oh yeah, I did live the dream, you know, Spider-Man and all, like, you know. But
my kids will love you, they love
Spider-Man.
No,
I loved the car. I never left the store. I worked 7 days a week, but I was amateur. It was clean all the money, you know. I still had all these big bags of money, like, you know.
Yeah.
Trying to get rid of all the crap. I remember going into the post office, a big enormous post office in Queens, New York. I went there early Monday. I went down, I went in, everything was normal. Handed over all the shitty money to get the postal orders so they could put it in the bank, you know. Very stupid, like, sort of thing, like.
But obvious money laundering.
Yeah, money laundering, you know. Plus, the minute I walked out, the street was in Jackson Heights, very busy, always Korean fruit markets, everything busy.
I've heard this story, this is... Yeah.
The minute I walked out, there wasn't one person in the whole fucking streets, and I said to myself,
it's like the Truman Show, isn't it?
It's like a zombie moving, you know. It wasn't a sinner about, and I thought, you're fucked. Instinctively it was over, and I went up the street, just up the street a wee bit, and the minute I put my hand on the handle of my van, fucking head back in all directions with the guns. Found me, said,
what are you thinking at that stage?
That's my life finished. I thought about my wife and kids. That was it. I'm going to jail for life.
What age are you here now?
30s.
Right, okay. So you get in the van, you'll be arrested. And is a story about how you you've done some time in New York, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I spent about 4 years in penitentiary.
Okay, so obviously you were found. Did you say you were guilty or did the...
No, I never talked. I never spoke. When the FBI got me, they arrested me and 3 other people, a priest, the highly decorated cop and a teacher, well respected teacher, absolutely none to do with it.
Yeah.
They had a clue. They were just arresting people, you know.
This sounds like a stupid question, but are you aware of the format is, or do you think who it is? Or...
Oh, I sort of way, they sort of way told me, but I sort of way didn't want to believe it. When I want you to hear somebody's name,
right.
No way.
As if, yeah.
You know, I'm still, even today, I still sort of way think, I don't think he fucking did it.
Oh, yeah.
But the guy was killed, he was chopped up.
Right, okay.
You know, I was in penitentiary doing all this here,
Yeah.
and I was outraged that he was fucking killed.
You never got that chance to speak to him to maybe?
No. Well, I did at the time say, fuck you, fuck that up. You know,
yeah.
Carly Bass, I was calling him everything, I think, because after I had to meet each other, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I never seen each other again, you know what I mean? But I thought afterwards, fucking no way. Imagine being killed for that there, you know what I mean? But then I thought, his hands in so many things. The mafia were after him and all. So you're thinking...
Yeah, you just one small branch.
Just one small, could have been anybody, could have been anything was involved. There's in a lot of corruption and boxers and all like this here, so could have been anybody, but of course they wanted to blame somebody, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But it was sad end of his life, like, you know.
And where did you do time in America?
Oh fuck, that was a joke, because once I got sentenced, the FBI brought me up from New York to the place where it happened, up in Rochester. Right. And next thing my lawyers, we had all these top lawyers. One of them was David Bowie's lawyer.
Right.
And he's my lawyer, and he's telling me, we have a chance here of getting a lot of these charges stopped. I don't believe it, because I already knew I'm going for life. I already was convinced I'm finished, going to die, no man, penitentiary, I'm away for life.
Right.
He said, look, don't be giving up, this isn't backguard in Ireland, this is real justice over here, you know. He says, your human rights was valued, because it brought you from New York, where you lived, up to Rochester where the crime was committed.
It's a bit of luck then, isn't it, really?
Well, I'm saying this, that's a lot of bollocks, he's only saying that. But the minute I went over, they're keeping me in the county jail. Everybody got bail except me, because they were all American citizens.
Yes.
Oh, you were illegal alien. If I had been an American citizen, I got bail. Only in America would you get fucking bail for all that sort of stuff, you know? But I was in the county jail, one of the cops over there, because they're run by cops, not screws, you know?
Yeah.
You can always say, son, got one of the best fucking lawyers in the world. If anybody can get you into this shit, he's the guy. You know, but I didn't believe it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said, fuck off, I'm depressed, and I was depressed, because I thought, my life's finished, you know? Went over the next day to the courthouse. The fucking judge dropped all the big charges. because my civil rights were fucking violated. I couldn't believe it.
So then bringing you from New York to, where was it?
Rochester, New York.
That was where the loophole happened.
That's where the robbery took place. They should never done that. That was a violation of my rights. That's now instituted. My case is instituted in American law.
Wow.
You know, a lot of lawyers go to my case now when their clients have been arrested for arresting somebody and bringing them to somewhere else.
So how long did you end up serving?
Well, I ended up, I was looking at life. All of a sudden, because these music charges were dropped, so all I could get was 5 years.
Wow.
So
and how long did you do?
About 4 years.
4 years. So what were the prisons like compared to?
Quite horrendous.
Really?
Quite violent.
Right.
But I was lucky because I'll tell you quite a quick incident.
Yeah.
I was always looked after by the Hells Angels.
Yeah, you mentioned them yesterday.
I got a lot of fucking arrested, you know. I got to the back there, fucking marijuana and all, taken off the back cops and all that. But they saw where they'd done the funny side of it all, you know. Yeah. So I was always taking care of Irish gangsters. I was always taking care of all the prisons because I moved about a lot. I was always trying to.
You were known. You know, well known.
So they're always trying to security. They're always thinking somebody's going to help you escape, and all. They always had this shit in their head. You know, I mean, like sort of moved me from prison to prison all the time. You know, but I always remember this one day I was in this. Moved from one prison down to this other place called Lewisburg, notorious prison. It's like a fucking castle. It's really bad, notorious like. And I remember going in and we're pushing us all in, all prisoners, black prisoners, Mexican prisoners, a couple of white prisoners, you know. So do that there, soldiers will call us, start fighting among yourselves. Racism.
That do not on purpose to get.
Oh, on purpose to get us to fight among yourselves. Yeah. So that's what the whole system's all about, keeping prisoners separated by kicking the crap out of each other, dividing, you know, because you know. But I remember getting in this day, the first time I ever got a seat. There's only like 4 seats, maybe 300 prisoners squeezed in, and they're all like fucking tight to tight. You know, imagine it's it's quite frightening. Like, but I got a seat and I sat down. I kept my head down because you don't want to be looking at something. Because you look at someone go, "What the fuck are you looking at?" Instead of shanking your neck or something. You know, so I just keep my head down. And next thing I would say, "Man, I see these 2 old guys, 2 old white guys. You know, must have been my fucking mate. You know, I thought, nah. I kept my head down. And all of a sudden, thought, fuck, I can't do it. You know, so I got up, offered one of them a seat. Just the way I was brought up in Belfast, like, you know, always give an elderly person the fucking seat, like, you know. So he's like, looked at me shocked, like, you know. But I took a seat, you know, he's very, you could see he was like shaking and all, like, you know. Cut long story short, that day, I went in the new prison. One of the guards came down to me, she was some such wants you up the 3rd tier. Here's me, fuck. That's what all the Italians are, you know. Yeah. I shit myself. But you know what else you're going to do? You have to go up. You know, so I went up. There's all these young Italians, all in all the muscle and all here. I'm going to fucking stop the taxi for some reason. You know, I don't know what the fuck it is. Next thing I see the old guy that I give him a seat to, called me over, give me a big hug. You looked after me. You give me a seat. My name goes where you go. And that was it. So every time I got into prisons, all the Italians took care of me. As soon as I heard my name was in the prison list, fed me everything.
And he was awfully well connected then.
He was the godfather of New Jersey. He was the godfather of New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very famous godfather.
And no one else would have just given him a seat, but you did.
Nobody gives us, you don't do that, it's a weakness.
So you've had, this sounds like a stupid statement here, but although you've really had a tough life, like tougher than probably anyone I've met, you've had these little kind of moments of.
I used to say.
What are they?
I used to say I've got a horse shop in the arse, you know, and they say, no, it's a whole fucking stable.
Yeah,
you know?
There's just these little moments that you've. It could have went either way.
Could have went either way, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because you were showing a weakness there by giving your seat to somebody. Yeah. That's what I was brought up. Fucking, I was shaking, like, and he fucking ready to faint, like, you know, because, you know what I mean? But there he was, the fucking godfather of New Jersey. Wow. I'd given a seat to him.
What the hell's Angels like?
Hells Angels were brilliant. They loved me. Because I love the IRA, you see.
Yes.
But they're telling all their message, you fucker, I lost so many fucking ounces of fucking marijuana, what? Because that's arresting them, fucking arresting me.
Would they take it on? Like in America, like the IRA and the Hells Angels, would they have been like, respect each other?
The Hells Angels loved the IRA, because they see the fucking IRA is fucking killing the cops and all. Against authority.
Yes.
No, like,
so comrades.
Yes, comrades and that sort of fucking thing. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
but the funny thing was there, I had these 4 or 5 IRA men. It was in America, they had a couple of gun runners, and I had a guy from NASA, the space program. He was in for making rockets for the IRA. You know? So they're trying to keep us all together, thinking we'll keep them here, we'll fucking watching, they're putting security around us 24 hours a day. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
again, you could chat about this all day.
Yeah,
so you get out of prison in America.
Well, what comes is, I got a phone call. The guard comes down and says, the governor wants to speak up. The governor lives in a big house, the hell looking down at public prison. Well, I says, I'm not going to governor, fuck off. You know, I'm not going to no governor. What do you want me for? God goes, I don't fucking know, but you can't refuse. I said, I'm refusing, tell him I'm not going fucking up.
Yeah.
So that happened. About a week later, I get this message from outside. I'm not taking visits or anything, but this guy comes in and says, son, he hands me a sweet note. You tiny thing, open it up, a bit of page. Says you're going to get a phone call, go up to the governor's office. Next time you get, you're told to call up. So fuck crazy, what's this all about?
Right.
I went up, got called up, the guard says, Millar, governor wants to see you, suppose you don't want to fucking see him? I said, no, I'm going up. He said, oh fuck, now you want to go up and see him now? You got me in the fucking shit the last time you didn't want to go up, you know? So I went up, big office, man. As soon as I walked in, the governor, he walked out, he left me in this fucking office. I said, what the fuck's going on here? About 10 seconds later, phone rings. And I'm thinking, I see the FBI trying to set me up. You know, making me for more charges, you know? And it's ringing and ringing. I remember reading a message, make sure you pick the fucking phone up. You know? Yeah. So my heart's beating like fuck. Next thing, I pick up the phone. Says, this is Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton's office. You're going home to Belfast. And that was it. And then I didn't believe it for 1 second. I left, went out, never said a thing. Thinking it was the FBI fucking me around, you know?
Right.
Next thing Bill Clinton gives me a clamor.
He come here famously, didn't he?
He did. I know when I was saying in my book, he was down there 2 days later because his Secret Service was up the stairs in the bookstore and the manager would shit himself because I was coming at the same time as Bill Clinton down in Eastons in Belfast to sign our books when I had on the brinks out. You know? Wow. Just one of them fucking mad episodes, you know? Yeah. But there it was, Bill Clinton gave me a clemency, sent me back home to Belfast and I started my life off again.
Wow, and what year was that?
I think it was maybe 2000 or 1988, 2000. I'm not 100% sure.
No, fair enough.
My head's always a bit fucked up now.
So you're back in Belfast, obviously. I'm assuming that the stage the peace process has kind of happened, and I would say a lot of your old comrades have got kids, grandkids even probably.
Grandkids, yeah.
And so it brings you to that stage of life. You're back in Belfast, obviously. It's that you've had, from what I'm gathering, you've had 2 different lives here. You've kind of had a life of hell, and then a life of the dream. Yeah,
well, that's the way the book's divided into 2 parts, Belfast and New York.
There you go, so you're back in Belfast. And at what stage did you start writing books?
Well, what happened was, I couldn't get a job, because all my old comrades had turned their backs on me. All my family had disowned me.
Because you left?
No, because of what I did in America. It was a criminal charge. Should not have done it, brought shame on the women, you know?
Fair enough, yeah.
My family didn't want to know me, because it brought shame on my name, their name.
Yeah.
So it was quite difficult, you know? But a year passed, I was very depressed because I couldn't get a job. The word was out, they'd be fucking employing him.
Yeah.
You know? And I was in the Belfast library, and next thing I'm opening up the Belfast Telegraph, it's a local newspaper, right? I seen a wee advertisement for the Brian Moore short story award, £1,000. You know, I'm fucking skint here. I'm wrecked. Everybody thinks I have millions. Yes. You know, it's all taken from me. I lost it.
Yeah, of course.
So I thought £1,000. I went in there. I didn't think I'd have any chance. So I had this wee short story about my mother committing suicide called Rain. Yeah. Sent it in. Cut long story short, I won. It was a very top prize at the time in Belfast. And once I got that prize money, it gave me the inspiration to be a writer. Right. I'd already wrote on the brinks in the penitentiary to keep me sane, not because I think it was getting published. I never thought it would get published. Okay. But I wrote it about my life story, about the things I've been through in life, just to get it all out of my poison in the system. You know, I never thought it would get published. I thought, you know, I had it sitting up in the attic.
So how many books have you had?
I've got 13 books.
13 books.
Published worldwide, different languages, German, French, Italian. So many. I've got, as an Irish writer, I've won more literary awards than any Irish writer, but my books have all been censored and blacklisted.
Right.
On the Brinks has been published almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
Right? And every year it's a bestseller. Bestseller every year. 3 months ago it was #1 on Amazon and the paperback and the Kindle again. But my books, you can't buy them in any bookstore in Belfast because they're blacklisted.
Well, you can get them everywhere else online and get them online, Amazon and...
Well, you buy them online or maybe, you know, if you order them from, but you'll like go and see them on the shelf, pick them off.
Of course, guys, what we'll do is we'll have all the information on the social media pages. We'll leave links on this actual podcast as well for the on the book and stuff like that. But tell me, is it a passion of yours now? Are you continuing to write? Are you still?
Always write. I'll die writing. Always want to be a writer as a kid. because of Stan Lee, Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
He created Spider-Man and all. So I always dreamed one day I'd be a writer like him, you know. I never thought because I was Catholic and a narcissist, I thought, there's no way I'm going to be allowed to be a writer, you know.
Absolutely.
But now I am internationally.
And how's it's sort of like to say your third chapter of your life almost. How's life now, Sam? What from day to day? How's your life?
This is the greatest part because now I've got a granddaughter. I'm living peacefully.
Yeah.
You know, I've reflected on my life, and now I'm a writer. I go to France, Italy, Germany all the time. I'm very rarely in Belfast now. I'm always travelling around Europe.
Yeah.
Different parts. Like I've got a film, and my life's coming. It's getting made now. We're hoping to be out at the end of this year. It's wrote by the same guy who wrote The Departed.
What's it going to be called?
It's going to be called On the Bridge, but the same guy who wrote The Departed, that's a very famous.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, he wrote the screenplay. I can't really tell too much about it because it's a controversial film, and we can't have people who cancel it or anything like this. But we're hoping that's going to be at the end of the year or early next year early. So that's a couple of other things coming about too. Like,
so that's keeping life exciting. And
you're
loving family life at the moment.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
This is the way my life should have been from day one. You know, I've got peace, got my wife, got all my kids. They've all graduated. They've all got great jobs. Yeah. You know, and now I've got my granddaughter. And seeing I sit down, I write my novels. So that's when she's writing a horror story. Like, you know, so things are very good for me at the moment.
And the future. So is it the same kind of writing books?
I don't know, man. The future is probably coming quickly. You know, I'm sure my days are limited, but I look back now and, you know, I think I've achieved an awful lot in my life, you know.
Oh, this is just unbelievable. I can't think of a word actually. I'm actually speechless to say because we've got
Liverpool man, speechless.
Yeah, well that's it. You laugh, but that's the thing. But what fascinates me about your story, Sam, is that, and this interview that we've done in this podcast, is through some of the absolute most horrendous things I've ever heard anyone say to you face to face. 4 or 5 times we've broke out to laughter and smiling because you seem to have that inside you that. What is that? What keeps you going? Like,
my father always told me that medicine is the best, laughter is the best medicine. He says no matter how dark it gets on, the candle in laughter will always come through if you can do it. Now, I try to learn to live through the horror of the hit blocks, you know. Yeah. And people who've read On the Bridge say, like, Sam, I laughed so much. Was that right of me laughing at all that torture and all that? Yeah. Yes. Because that's what I wanted people to do, laugh at it. Because that's what I fucking did. That's how I defeated the screws. That's how I killed them. And they see me laughing, they thought, we can't beat these fuckers.
And kind of one kind of last couple of things to reflect on. And I don't want to kind of go too deep in it. If you don't feel comfortable answering, absolutely. Where do you see the fight for Irish freedom? Now let me just give you my point of view. You know, on a podcast, I've lived over here for nearly 10 years. I've seen both sides. I think you're all mad. But being from Liverpool, you mentioned Margaret Thatcher there, I shouldn't have mentioned it twice on my podcast. Danny, bleep her name out. But the reason I'm kind of, it's a stupid comparison, but being from Liverpool and growing up in Liverpool, you can see how we were treated differently to certain places in England. Okay. And even in my generation, it still went on and you can see it and you've lived it and stuff like that. So for yourself, okay, you're successful, for your family man, you know, your days of trying to fight Irish freedom on the streets have gone, of course. But where do you see the future lying? I know recently Sinn Féin got in and stuff, and there's a lot of I know not about politics, but you see where I'm getting at. You know, you've got your opinion. Where do you think it's going to lead?
I don't know. You know, I used to fight for United Ireland as a young. Always believed in it, dreamed. Yeah. Now I'm a realist, a bit cynical. I don't see United Ireland in my lifetime.
Okay.
You know, we still have to prove to unionists that, you know, we're not going to do to them what they did to us.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a lot of unionists in my family, and I'm not going to get into that, you know.
Yeah.
But we have to prove to them that we will not do unto them what they have done to us for the last 100 years. And it's hard for them to believe. Yeah. But that's why we weren't brought up that way. We weren't brought up
a generation thing.
Or anything. Now, I sit back, my kids are married to 2 unionists. Religion, football doesn't get talked about. I don't give a shit what you are. Hindu, atheist, Jewish, don't give a shit about it. Never have. And it's the same in my house. There's peace in my house. People come talking about it. Don't give a shit. You know? But I just don't see a United Ireland in my life. You know?
Well, it's sad, but you do see it in the future.
Oh, we'll have. Oh, yeah, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
I think at the moment we're getting better. You know, a bit of equality coming into things, but we've had the unions walking out of government refusing to participate because Sinn Féin, what it really is they don't want to be in government with Catholics in charge. Yeah. Because Sinn Féin's now in charge. They are now the highest political party of the elections, even though the unionists agreed that they would get to be the first manager because of the majority vote, but now they've walked out. And really what it comes down to sectarianism. They don't want to be Catholics in charge. They just can't get that in their heads.
Absolutely, I mean, I say the politics. It's
It's
different story.
Yeah,
and
it's horrible.
But like, during the podcast, what are your final words? Are you? I can see and I can feel in this conversation that we're having that the future is bright for you, Sam Millar, and I'll see the film coming out. And
yeah, Sean, thank you. Appreciate you actually thinking about bringing me in for one of your podcasts. You know, it's
absolutely.
very humbling when people ask me to do that.
Absolutely no problem, Sam. It's been a privilege.
Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate it. Thank you for listening and watching the episode 4 of the Plenty of Ammo podcast with Sam Millar. It's been a fascinating story, and I will post all links to the book On the Brink and everything else in our social media. And please get yourself a copy because I know I'm going to. And it's available on audio, is that right?
Audio, paperback, Kindle, all sorts, anything you can get, it's all out there. You'll get it any good bookstore. You'll not get it in Ireland. Hopefully you'll get it in Britain somewhere, but you'll get it on Amazon or anywhere else.
Well, there you go. It's been an absolute privilege. Thank you so much, Sam.
Oh, thanks, Paul.
Thank you, buddy.
Maldron Hotel, Belfast city centre, is an ideal location for anyone looking to stay in central Belfast. Contact them on 028 9600 1680. That's 028 9600 1680. That's Maldron Hotel, Belfast city centre.